What a first piece of work! How would they like to outperform it in the future? The car tuner Brabus pushes the 1300R from the start. 180 horsepower from a 1300cc V2 in a wonderfully crafted dress are impressive. The KTM 1290 Super Duke R in the EVO variant serves as the basis. That includes the new electronic chassis. But even more eye-catching is the noble and harmonious paint job, which fits the voluminous power plant perfectly. The appearance is also defined by the high-quality 9-spoke forged wheels. Friends of carbon get their money's worth as well as friends of smooth ride comfort. The brutal 1300R is also supplied by Brabus with a cozy seat heating. Brabus has succeeded in turning a brutal and martial-looking motorcycle into a really beautiful and elegant piece. The machine is offered in two color versions. Magma Red and Signature Black are available. Available, in a manner of speaking, because the 77 pieces of each color were sold out within a few minutes. We at 1000 PS were able to take one of the extremely rare machines for an intensive test ride. We were allowed to test the bike on Mallorca. We were happy to take advantage of this opportunity. On the one hand, we wanted to get to know Brabus as a brand a little better. On Mallorca they presented cars, boats and also their motorcycle. On the other hand, it was a good opportunity to test the semi-active chassis of the KTM 1290 Super Duke Evo, because even if the bike looks totally unique, the differences in the chassis are small. The engine performance will also be comparable. At Brabus, the V2 roars out of a specially developed exhaust system, so the test will also be interesting for fans of the Super Duke. After the first sunny meters on Mallorca, it was first the engine which impressed once again. The brutal-looking 1300 V2 package can be controlled easily and harmoniously in the hectic city traffic. Also in the stop-and-go traffic the engine felt just fine and transitions superbly to attack mode. That's definitely worth mentioning with such a voluminous V2 engine. And these great manners are certainly due to the progress the electronics have made. The electronics package is doing a good job overall. The ABS as well as the traction control and also the wheelie control are tuned very suitable for practical use. The assistants go to hand without being too annoying and allow a lot of freedom. Nevertheless, they respond very quickly and precisely. At the first cafe stop, I took a closer look at the bike. I was very positively surprised that the bike from Brabus rides so practically, looks very exclusive and extroverted. But in the saddle, it feels like a really good power naked bike for real motorcycle connoisseurs. The levers fit well in the rider's hand. The seat offers great grip and the footrests literally bite into the boots. The slightly lighter rims don't make the bike wobbly either. It rides precisely and harmoniously. The motorcycle is therefore not built for any fancy collections to live a chic existence. It is an agile ride machine which gives adrenaline and joy. What was new to me was the electronic chassis, which it is also used in the new KTM Super Duke R Evo. There, however, in combination with somewhat heavier rims. But the basic performance will certainly be comparable. Electronic suspensions make a lot of sense, especially on power-naked bikes, because the powerful engine with 180 horsepower basically requires a tuning of the chassis. At the exit of the bend, for example, you need tight damping on the shock absorber. Too soft of a setup would cause the rear end to sink in. On the other hand, this means that you can no longer hold the line at the front and the bike goes wide. However, if you mount a suspension that is as hard as a board, the bike rides woodenly in everyday use and is not comfortable. The electronic suspension can alleviate this compromise. Small motors adjust the settings on the fork and suspension strut while riding. This is also possible in high quality on a motorcycle like the Brabus 1300R because the high quality onboard electronics also provide plenty of high quality data. The 6-axis IMU knows exactly in which position the ride is and also all other data on the current driving condition are supplied. In the saddle, you don't notice any of this witchcraft. As a user, you select your desired setup in the vehicle menu. For everyday routes, for example, the comfort setting is ideal. This can be combined wonderfully with the anti-dive function. The ride is then relatively comfortable in everyday use, but the front does not dive during hard braking maneuvers. For sporty sections, you select the sport setting and enjoy a stiff chassis that nevertheless gives you a good feeling for the current driving condition. The electronic suspension is by no means a firewall for feedback, but rather a really practical feature that is a pleasure to use. Those who trust the machine can also use it in automatic mode. Then the adjustment range becomes very wide and the ride setup changes significantly within a few moments. This feels a bit spooky for motorcycle connoisseurs at first, but the function in practice is impeccable. When strolling through the local area, the ride becomes soft and a bit less direct. As soon as the throttle is twisted again, the entire setup shifts and the bike becomes tighter again. In practice, I just left the ride in automatic mode at the end of the day. By the way, the settings on the chassis should not be mistaken with the settings of the engine electronics and other driving aids. Here I like to drive in the defensive street mode. The short stroke throttle responds gently and the driving aids are on the safe side. Overall, this was a wonderful fit in the changing conditions of Mallorca. We rode the bike on very tight switchbacks but also on fast and in wide passages. We enjoyed the machine as a driving practical sports motorcycle. In the further hairpin bends you like to ride the motorcycle in the hang-off, otherwise you sit loose and relaxed in the saddle of the machine. The seating position is overall very comfortable without becoming too casual. An extended day trip feels good and right, yet you are still dynamic enough to direct the 180 horsepower also accurately when needed. Of course, I also paid attention to the quality and practicality of the components. These are partly a small series production. Friends of exclusive machines generally see this positively. I myself am a technocrat and tend to be a fan of high-volume products. However, Brabus should not be dismissed as a small tuning company. Brabus is a tuning company with a lot of experience and has almost 400 employees in Germany. These structures are cleverly combined with the possibilities of KTM in Mattighofen. So on the one hand you have an elegant and exclusive piece of machinery, and on the other hand you have the service and support from a wide dealer network including reliable global spare parts supply. In practice, a pleasant feeling of familiarity quickly sets in, and the elegant carbon parts are also really well crafted and will please the motorcycle connoisseur. Critical pilots will probably criticize 2 points. The base model has a weakness. The switches and buttons used on the left handlebar already seem rather fiddly on the KTM and do not really have an exclusive touch. The number of just about 150 units was probably too small to be able to mount more sophisticated knobs for the noble machine from Brabus. With the add-on parts, it was then the mirror that is all too sexy but not 100% practical. The range of sight is too small and in tight turns the mirrors hit the knees, but I am quite sure that many fans of exclusive make-up bikes prefer this type of mirror. I myself prefer well-made mirrors in the classic configuration. It has to be said that the mirrors are very tight and have no problems with vibrations. It's just the position of the mirrors that won't make every rider happy. The feedback so far from the 1000 PS community was positive. Of course, there are voices that consider the motorcycle too expensive. But as a pragmatist I have to say, obviously the price was set too low, because the motorcycle was sold out in a few minutes and Brabus could probably have achieved a higher price or a larger number of units. In this context, the almost 40,000 euros in Germany were a nice sum to pay over. But probably the 40,000 euros will not be written off as a cost in private accounting, but may be carried as an asset in the books. The popularity of the Brabus brand is high. A good indicator is the Instagram account, which had over 1 million fans in April 2022, so it was also clear that some buyers have bought the bike as a speculative object and first bikes were already offered for over 70,000 euros on the marketplace of 1000 PS. I myself hope of course that the buyers also like to ride the motorcycle often. It deserves it. It rides well and is really a lot of fun. The 1300R is an exciting status symbol which is not only a pleasure to look at but also a pleasure to ride. And of course it also makes us curious. What models will Brabus be launching in the future? The brand wants to get active in the motorcycle sector in the long term and has a lot planned. We'll stay tuned. Brabus has set the benchmark high for future developments with its first motorcycle.